Hey gang, how we doing? Sean from The Good Dog. Not quite as sunny as it was yesterday, but you know, I kind of secretly like the fog. So get to actually wear like warmer jacket, get cozy, all that stuff. Anyways, this is a little TGD video tip. So the prevailing or preponderance or the multitude of questions that I get from Q&A Saturday or PMs or emails or anything like that where people are struggling with their dogs, I'd say the majority of stuff, there's training issues for sure, but then there's a majority of stuff that's just about how do I get my dog to stop doing this? How do I get my dog to stop jumping up? How do I get my dog to stop counter surfing? How do I get my dog to stop barking? How do I get my dog to stop being a bully with other dogs in the house? How do I get my dog to, stop growling or charging the door or this and that? Right? It goes like it's a laundry list. We could go down this list. So you guys, I'm sure, know, as dog owners, you know the stuff that you're looking to stop. As dog trainers, you know that that's a big part of our gig and what we end up getting called to do. So there's like two components of this. There's training, right? So there's like, we need to teach dogs like how to sit and how to down, how to recall and how to walk nicely on leash. And more the like training components, then we have to proof through those, right? And then we have to set up corrections or consequences that let the dogs know that all those behaviors that we taught are non-negotiable and that they actually have to be followed. And then you actually get reliable obedience and a dog that's trained. That's the first part of it. Then you have your second part of it. And the second part, a lot of times, training can help. Training can like de-stress a dog and relax a dog and get them to make better choices and a lot of other stuff in a kind of like comprehensive fashion. But then there's just stuff that the training, all the obedience, all the good like state of mind stuff doesn't change on its own without the dog being corrected for it. It's not a training gig. I mean, you could still call it training, but it's not a training in the way of like, let's teach a dog to sit and like move through the process, the arc of training and proofing. We're talking about corrections, punishment, term people have a really hard time with, but like technically that's what it is. Correction, punishment, addressing the dog and letting the dog know that whatever it is that is going on, this isn't about like teaching a dog through a bunch of like, a million reps that jumping isn't good or counter surfing isn't good or, growling and barking and charging the door, trying to bite somebody isn't good or trying to attack another dog or be a bully isn't good or, resource guarding isn't good. Yes, there's a certain amount of like training involved in this and we could go down like the whole rabbit hole and like I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, but that's training, and we could argue this point all day long about what is and what isn't training. What I'm trying to do is make a clear distinction between kind of like more the training modality or the training kind of concepts, and then the times where without saying no to your freaking dog, without correcting or punishing crappy behavior, your dog is stuck and you are stuck. And getting back to kind of how I started this all off, it all started off with talking about what I get asked the most on all the different social media channels is how do I stop this behavior? How do I stop this problem? How do I, get my dog not to do this anymore? Now, if you're asking how do I get my dog not to run away anymore, that's a training thing, right? We need to teach the dog recall. How do I get my dog to sit before I release him to eat? That's a training thing. How do I get my dog to down on command and wait for me to throw the ball before I release him? That's a training thing, right? So we got the training stuff, but then we've got the stuff that's just crappy behavior that even with all the training can still exist and still live and still do its thing, right? And if you don't address it, you don't get anywhere. So hopefully I'm setting like a clear foundation for what I'm talking about. Now, for all these questions that I get, the challenge for me is trying to explain to people how to do this stuff when they don't have usually a vast experience with all sorts of different tools and how to apply them. That's really the challenge, because They'll say, how do I get my dog to stop being a bully to the other dogs in the house? Well, if you create structure and rules and consequences and train the dog, that might get you there, or it might not. You might just have a bully of a dog who thinks he can get away with that stuff, even if you do get the relationship stuff into a good space. So then how do I share with somebody how to correct that dog? How do I tell them how to the stuff that we use that works extremely well to help dogs move through that stuff, a dressage whip pop on the rear, right? An e-collar correction, you know, a slight pop on the e-collar, or even a medium-sized pop on the e-collar, or a prong collar correction, something like that. How do I explain to them that their bully of a dog will continue to be a bully if the dog doesn't have a consequence that makes bullying not fun? Right? That's the challenge. The challenge is when I get all these emails and all these questions, and you hear me on Q&A try and dive into it, and Laurel try and dive into it, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge to try and get this across, that there's an absolute component of punishment or correction, however you want to word it, however it feels best for you, that if you are not willing to do that stuff and you don't teach yourself how to do it, or you don't have a professional come in and help you work through it, you're probably going to stay stuck. Bullying dogs, it's a blast to be a bully in the dog world, because you get all the stuff you want. But if you correct it and you make bullying not fun, then you get a dog that's less of a bully. How do you do that? We have a multitude of ways that we go about doing it, but the challenge is getting people to be able to do the same thing. Getting people to understand how to do it, how to apply the tools, and then being comfortable with it. A lot of people are like, there's got to be a better way. I've been told there's, you know, positive methods, and I'll give them an alternative approach or an alternative behavior to do instead of like doing the bullying. I'll recall him away a million zillion times. Recalling your dog that's being a bully away doesn't make him not a bully anymore. It makes him a dog that recalls away when he's bullying. Big distinction there, right? Same thing, a dog that's counter surfing. You can recall the dog out of the kitchen a million times and be like, I don't want you in there and counter surfing. Or you can correct your dog for counter surfing and make counter surfing really suck. And then your dog won't counter surf anymore. And then you don't have to manage your dog for the rest of eternity. And then your dog can make better choices on his own. So there's a corrective process and there's a training process. And yes, there's some gray in there, but I really want you guys to like mold this over in your head. I want you guys, yes, I'm going for the arm brace, because you know how it goes. The arm brace. But I really want you guys to get the distinction and to not feel crappy, guilty, bad about setting up consequences for your dog so they can move through and make better choices. A dog that is like trying to bite people's feet, or, you know, is aggressive in some fashion towards human beings, you might do all the obedience work in the world. You might do all sorts of awesome relationship stuff and turn all sorts of things around. And still, if you don't directly address, after you've done all that great stuff, if you don't directly address that going after somebody's feet or trying to bite somebody is the worst thing in the world, you might just get a dog who's locked in a cycle of human aggression for a multitude of reasons. Could be fear, could be insecurity, could be possessiveness, could be territorial stuff. The gig is you have to teach them, right? Don't do that anymore, or there's hell to pay. There's consequences that are unsavory, and then we can get a dog to make different choices. I know this is an unpopular topic. I know people don't want to talk, trainers don't want to talk about like heavy duty consequences. Everybody wants to sell that like dog training is all like hugs and kisses and everything's, you know, sweet and easy and delightful. But the truth of the matter is, if you're dealing with unsavory behavior that can be dangerous for the dog or dangerous for other people or dangerous for other dogs, if you're not willing to share a correction, consequence, or punishment that makes that decision an unsavory one for the dog, enough so that they make different decisions in the future, you're probably going to be stuck. The trick is finding out how to do it, what tools to use, and how to apply those tools. Like I said, you may need a professional to come in that can actually help you do it. You may want to learn on your own and then kind of find your way through it. I'm not suggesting abusing dogs. I'm not suggesting beating dogs. I'm not suggesting any unsavory, crappy behavior from human beings towards dogs and then putting it under the guise of like, it's dog training and it's okay. What I'm saying is, we have to make some clear distinctions about training dogs and obedience and things like that, and then actually creating consequences and punishment for shitty behavior so dogs can make better choices. One of the big reasons we can send dogs home that are doing bad stuff that go to a lot of other trainers is because we understand this concept very clearly, deeply, and we know how to apply it, and we know how to help the dogs move through whatever they're stuck with so they can live happy, good lives. Part of it is training, relationship, foundation, right? All the usual stuff, structure, rules, accountability. And part of it, if there's still residual stuff going on, is setting up firm consequences for that specific behavior that makes that specific behavior incredibly unsavory so the dog can move through it and make better choices. People can argue all day long. There'll probably be a vast amount of people on here, positive trainers or people that believe in that ideology, that will say this is a bunch of, you're going to create a ticking time bomb, you're going to ruin your dog, you're going to ruin your relationship, you're going to shut the dog down, you're going to go through the whole thing. All I know is I see the dogs that come from those training programs over and over and over again, they end up here because they don't get the help they need, the dogs or the owners. So I don't have an axe to grind. We've got more than enough business. I don't need to like drum up business. These messages aren't for me. These messages are for you as a consumer, as a dog owner, and as a dog trainer trying to find your way towards the truth, right? This is the truth born out of thousands of dogs coming through here and coming out looking better. This is thousands of problem dogs that a lot of people wouldn't work with or wouldn't touch or couldn't help, that we have helped and have had them move through really dangerous, unsavory behavior into a better space. This isn't for me. This isn't for the good dog's business. This isn't so we can like, you know, sound the trumpets and like have everybody, you know, come on in, like we're the only ones. There's plenty of people that understand how to do this work. But what I want to get across more than anything for you, the consumer especially, is that if anyone's selling you a bill of goods that you can get behavior that is very rewarding for the dog for whatever reason, and aggression can be very rewarding, all sorts of stuff can be very rewarding. If your trainer that you're working with doesn't understand that concept of how to make those rewarding behaviors not rewarding, and I don't mean by like ignoring it or any of this stuff where there's not a direct consequence for the behavior, you're probably going to be stuck. So do your due diligence. Go down the rabbit hole of like watching videos and reading blogs and examining as much information as you humanly can so you can be informed. This is just one person trying to share their truth, their information, what they've seen, and why things work for us, right? Anybody that's, I always go back to the same thing, anybody that's going to contradict this, just show me the money. Show me the videos. Show me lots of bad dogs doing amazingly different with their handlers. Don't show me your dog. Don't show me one dog. Don't show me 3 dogs. And don't show me it just with you. Show me the money. Show me the dog. Show me the proof. That's what I had to say. All right, guys, I got to take this beast back and do like a major excursion down to Newport Beach. What kind of dingbat goes to Newport Beach to buy a car? This dingbat. So I'm picking up the Jag. Gonna go do that. You guys have an awesome day. Any questions about this? Any snotty, nasty, just like ideological crappiness that shows up, I just delete. So don't even waste your time if you watch this, because if you type up a really long involved thing where your heart's really in it, but you're coming from a really crappy place, or like, this is a bunch of bullshit, I just delete you. So don't waste your time. Go do it somewhere else. If you've got legitimate questions, queries, misunderstanding, you're unsure about any of this, hit me up. You know, I'm always happy to help respectful, polite, courteous questions that come from an honest place. So hopefully that helps, guys. Get informed, figure out what really works, and hopefully you guys know that like same thing goes for us. There's no consequences for our behavior. Behavior doesn't change. It's just simple stuff. Let's keep it simple. All right, see you guys. Have a happy Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye. Sean from the Good Dog.